I'm going to show you how to run Ovito for Crystal Grower. So first of all, open up Ovito, then load up a file that you want to look at, and I'm going to open up an XYZ file, and there are 6 columns, and these should be set as follows. The first column is particle type, then charge and mass, and then position X, position Y, position Z. If you've got these set once, then they should be set every time, and just click OK. Right, so that has opened up this file called file Ovito XYZ. However, if we look at, so it's a movie, we look at the frames, we've actually opened up both number 2 and number 3, and these are 2 different files with the same name but a different describer at the beginning. So if you want to just look at one of these, then you need to adjust this star to the one you want to look at. So for example, if you want to look at number 3 only, then we can click number 3. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to colour these accordingly. So I'll first of all turn off the simulation cell. It just turns off that box there, and I'll show you how to colour these. So what you need to do is, with the data source selected here, then you need to add a modification, and you should add 2 of them. You should add colour coding, and you should add assign colour. Okay, these are both ticked here. If I just untick them both to start with. So let's start with how these things are coloured at the moment. So without any of these selected, if you go down to particles here, you'll find in this particular case you've got 3 particle types. These are the 3 different cages that you have in this particular zeolite, zeolite Y. And they each have a different colour. Primarily you can just see one of them at the moment because they're so large, and one of them is predominantly at the surface, but the other ones are there. You can change the size of each of these down here, so they're all set as 0 to begin with, which is a default size, but if we just make a small size for number 1, which I'm going to make it even smaller, I'll just make it 0.1, and then you'll start to see the other ones coming up. I'll make them all 0.1. You can now see all the different colours of the cages, so they are all there. You can now see in through the crystal. So I'll make them something a bit more sensible, say 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5. Okay, but we can predominantly see one at the surface. Okay, so you can, if you want, you can change the colours of these simply by clicking the colour, and then you can select the colours over here that you want. Let's just make this one a little bit small so I can begin to see some of the other colours, make it a bit more sensible. Okay, so we can now see some of the other colours coming through here. Okay, so this is, without any of these things clicked, then this is going to be how it's going to be coloured. If you just want a single colour, just go assign colour here, and if you click on assign colour, you'll see the colour that's been assigned, and again you can change that, and that will give you every single particle will have the same colour. So if you just want a single colour, click assign colour. If you click colour coding here, this creates a strange effect. Now click colour coding over here so it's highlighted, and you'll see down here what it's actually highlighting. So currently it's working on the particles, but it's working on the wrong property. We want to work here on the mass property. Now the mask property are the individual layers of the terraces, of which there are 4 colours, and so I would suggest you start this from around about -1 up to 5 works quite well. If you have this range too far, this gives a gradient of colour across 1 to 4, which is not very good. I mean, you can, if you want, you can make this from just 1 to 4, but that gives you rather stark differences in colours. You can choose a different colour table. You can go to rainbow colours, magenta colours, etc. But again, I would suggest having this from about -1 to 5 works quite well, and I quite like the last colour one. So now we can colour it via layers. We can colour it by one colour, or if you take them both off, you can now colour them according to their cage type. Okay, down the bottom here, you'll see that you have, in this particular case, 49 frames have been read in, so you can play a movie and watch this growing, watch the crystal growing. You can change it to watch the layers growing if you want. Or if you want, you can assign it. It's a bit difficult to change it whilst the movie is running. You might have to stop the movie, assign the colour and restart it. You can have a single colour there. Okay, so now if I want to make a movie of this, we have to do a little bit of work. So we've got a few keys down here. First of all, we've got a magnifier, so you can change the magnification, turn that off. You can shift it around, this one. Otherwise, you just turn it around like that. So if we want to make a movie, then we have to do a couple of things. First of all, you'll see that you have this projection up in the top left is ortho. If we go down to view type and we select that, we create a camera. We've now created camera number 1 up here. If we go over to this drop down menu here, we'll see that camera 1 has now been created. So camera 1 is here, and if you click on camera down the bottom here, you'll see some properties. We've currently got an orthographic camera. You can have, if you wish, a perspective camera, but I prefer the orthographic camera. We've got a field of view set currently at 25. If we make that smaller, you'll see you zoom in, you make that larger, you zoom out. So if we want to make a movie, we need to animate. So you click the A key here, and you'll see that at time 0 is down here. There's 50 frames altogether. We go up to time 49 up here for the 50 frames. We've got a field of view set, but if we want an animation, we need at least, at the minimum, 2 points here, a beginning and an end point. So we're going to have to add in another point, and I suggest to begin with just add one right at the end of the movie. So we've now got one at the beginning, one at the end. We could have a different field of view at the end if we want, but let's just for now keep the same field of view. Okay, and we see when we do that, we create this little animation tab here at the beginning and one at the end, and you can see the field of view is set to 40 there, and the field of view is set to 40 here. Okay, so now we want to make an animation, and so we're going to have to set an orientation at the beginning point and an orientation at the end point. So what you want to do is first of all run back to the beginning of the program, which you can do with this button here, and you're back to 0 here out of 49. Then you can release the animation with this key button. So you click that key button and everything goes red. Now select the orientation and the position that you wish to have for the start of your animation. Let's suppose that's okay. Then come to the end of the animation, so jump to the end, and now turn it to the position that you wish to have at the end and where you want it. Just put it slightly off to the side there. Yeah, so you can't magnify in this mode. You can only turn, and you can move the position. When you're happy with that, you click the key so nothing else moves, and that turns that off. Now you'll see if you run from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, you'll move from beginning to end. If you want to change the magnification, you have to go back to this animate key over here and change the field of view. So for instance, if at the end you want it to be more zoomed in, say 20 at the end, so now if we just run to the end of the movie, you'll see that's much more zoomed in. So now you run from the beginning to the end of the movie being more zoomed in. Okay, so now we need to make the actual movie, and you can do that by clicking the render button here. You probably want to save it to a file, so just choose a file name that you want to save it to. So I'll call it test, and I'll save it as a QuickTime movie. Save. I've already got one there, so I'll just replace what I've got there. Then we're going to do a complete animation, which we click up here, and then we just click the camera up here, and that should render the movie. So that's rendering the movie beginning to end. And then if you look on your desktop, there should be a movie down here which you can open up in QuickTime. So there's one already open there, so just open up this new one again, and you can see that movie from beginning to end. Okay, so if we wanted to add another point in the movie here, we would just go back to your click here, then back to make sure you've got camera and camera selected, then click A, add in another time point, maybe say at the 25th point, choose a size for it, so maybe zooming out, for example, let's go to, I don't know, 70. Okay, so now you'll see that in the middle of this movie, step through going further and further away, so we go from beginning to end, starts off, gets further away, and then comes forward. I'll make that even further away, I think, so that middle point, I'll make it 100. It's going to look a bit odd, but now you'll be able to see how it goes from the beginning and then fades away and then gets bigger. So you can do pretty much whatever you want. If you're not happy with, say, the end position, you can come right through to the end of the movie, unlock it, move it somewhere else. Say actually we really want it there, and we really want it turned around a bit more like that. Lock it, and now that should end up at the new position. at the end. Make sure when you unlock and lock here, you lock it up before you start moving your object around, otherwise you'll change your settings.